welcome to the Man Enough podcast.
I'm excited.
I'm Justin Baldoni.
I'm Liz Plank.
Yes, you are. And I'm Jamie Heath.
And this is a very special day today. Why is it special, Jamie Heath?
Oh my gosh, it is so special. Why? Because we have this amazing, lovely woman on our podcast, all of our podcast here. And she's got so much that she contributes. She's brilliant. You're like a scholar of so much. You have so many stats. You're like just a pro.
She's a journalist,
an author, all of these things. And we want to know more about you.
So the guest on the podcast today is our wonderful co-host, Liz Plank.
Because you know what? When the cameras are not rolling and you're not being Professor Liz, you have so much humor and fun and things and jokes and all the stuff. And I want to know some about that.
Okay, I like that.
And you also have some history in your life that I feel is worth our audience knowing about you, because it gives you such perspective to who you are.
It's also, you're kind of like this anomaly. You're a little bit of a unicorn in that, well, of all of the things that you could choose to have a career in, being a journalist and making, funny videos and, all of the types of things. Your first book, you chose to write about men.
I know.
So
weird.
And you're a radical feminist, intersectional feminist, and you are writing about men, and you have a jewelry line, Let Boys Cry. You really love men. And I love what you have done with your career and your life. I love that you have been willing to come onto this podcast a lot. I've had a lot of conversations with women who say I could never do what Liz does.
Oh, interesting. You didn't tell me that.
Well,
why do they say that?
I gotta save things for the podcast. Because it's not easy to sit with men and have these conversations when for so many women it's life or death, as you've brought up to us. So let's get to know you a little bit, Liz Plank.
Can we just make jokes? That's what I do in therapy. It's just like an SNL sketch.
Okay, we got to go pay some bills. We will be right back after a break from our sponsors.
This episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. Is something preventing you from achieving your goals? Is there something interfering with your happiness? I know these are weighty questions, but ones that I think are totally normal to ask. And one of the best things I did for myself was take the leap to talk to someone, a professional, to help unpack all those things, because I don't have to answer those questions alone, and neither do you. So check out BetterHelp.com/manenough. BetterHelp will assess your needs and match you with your own licensed professional therapist who specialize in things like depression, stress, anxiety, relationships, grief, self-esteem, LGBT matters, and so much more. And they are committed to facilitating great therapeutic matches, so they make it easy and free to change counselors if needed. You can start communicating in under 48 hours. Anything you share is confidential. Send a message to your counselor anytime, and you'll get timely and thoughtful responses. Plus, you can schedule weekly video or phone sessions. Connect in a safe and private online environment. It's so convenient. And the service is available for clients worldwide. It's not a crisis line. It's not self-help. It is professional counseling done securely online. So start living a happier life today. As a listener, you'll get 10% off your first month by visiting our sponsor at BetterHelp.com/manenough. Join over 1 million people who have taken charge of their mental health. Again, that's BetterHelp, HELP.com/manenough. All right, welcome back to the Man Enough podcast.
When was the last time you didn't feel enough?
All the time. All the time. I think not feeling enough is my baseline. It's a little scary how I'm realizing through a lot of deep work, doing the work. Me and my friends might have this joke of people who are like, I'm doing the work. That means that they're not. Like people who say that when they call it the work, they're not doing the work. Obviously, it's a joke. If you say that and you're doing the work, I'm very proud of you.
Is it kind of like people that say like, oh my God, I hate drama?
Yes, Definitely. They're the ones who started.
Oh, I hate drama. Oh my God.
Yes. It just like.
By the way, did you hear about that thing?
Exactly. And drama always surrounds them. Like, okay, come on. So I don't even know what I was saying. Yeah. Feeling not enough is definitely a baseline for me. And I'm realizing it is as a result of, you know, growing up in a really dysfunctional environment inside my home and not, you know, it's no one's fault. No one abused me or hurt me. And so that's what actually made it hard to see. You realize that in the data, children who are neglected and who are abused, you would think the children who are abused will have the most damage, you know, emotionally, psychologically. But what you know, research is finding is that there's actually almost no difference in their brains and in their emotional well-being. So neglect can actually feel just as bad as abuse does. But for a lot of people, I sort of have this radar now, which is what I used to say. I used to say like, oh my God, my parents were great. Oh my God, like everything was fine. Like I had the best childhood. Like my parents were perfect. They did the best that they could. And obviously I love my parents deeply and they truly like, I'm so close to them. They're my best friends. But that being said, I've realized with time that yeah, a lot, like 99% of my personality is coping mechanisms that I developed as a very young child that allowed me to survive, which is really exciting because like, oh my God, we made it. Thank you.
And you're really funny now.
You had said that oftentimes the research is showing that neglect can be just as damaging. And I would think in some cases maybe more. Not all, but in some cases, because people that are abused, you can point it out, right? And then maybe there was at least attention being put on you, inappropriate attention, but at least you are receiving something, right? That then is damaging. In this case, and in your case, you're not seen anymore. You're not important. Which is even and where you would get that the most, we should get from our parents. And if you don't get it there, then you're a woman going through the world and continuing not to be seen. And treated and forgotten about. Or I'm imagining how much that has affected you.
Yeah, it's like I'm in and you know, I know you're both doing a lot of work, not the work, but a lot of it is literally reprogramming myself. Like I'm just and a huge part of it is having conversations with your inner child. And I used to think it was one way where it's like, oh, I have to calm her down or I have to take care of her. And now I'm also realizing it kind of goes both ways. Like I also have to listen to her. And I actually have so much to learn from her as much as she is to learn from me. And that part is really exciting. And I think, you know, for anyone who's doing this kind of work, I really encourage you to let your inner child be really proud of you for everything that you did and everything that you overcome, despite all of those things that you went through. I think that's like part of the healing, you know, of loving yourself for having survived.
How do you then survive that, become this amazing woman that you are, a radical feminist, so brilliant and strong in so many ways? You have shared personally, you've had a history of being in relationships that maybe aren't the best ones. And because you are so adamant about educating all of us men how to be our best selves, how is it that you find yourself in relationships with the opposite of the very men that you're trying to create?
Such a good question. And it's a question I've asked myself for a long time. And I think part of it is anyone who, does, again, have trauma or whatever you want to call it, you know, small T trauma, big T trauma, like, didn't have the secure childhood that, you know, that basically half of, you know how attachment theory works, like half of people are secure and grew up having what they needed from their caretakers, and then half of us didn't. And we end up in either anxious or avoidant or anxious avoidant kind of attachment styles and that dysregulation. And I think that what I've realized is that I was recreating the traumatic childhood that I'd gone through to change it. So if I date someone who's similar to a parent who is unavailable for whatever reasons, who is dysregulated for whatever reasons, who I can fix. If I can fix them, then I've like closed that loop.
Close the circle.
Right? And that's obviously not how it works. That doesn't, just so you know, spoiler alert.
If you're listening to this,
yes.
That's not how it works.
That's not how it's not going to work, unfortunately, or very rarely does it work.
But that's what you thought love was. That was your representation of love.
100%.
So for you to be in a relationship with a man that did the same thing, that's 100%. Like, oh, that's love.
Yes, 100%. That's all I knew. That's all I knew. That's literally all I knew. And so now I'm relearning. I'm at a point which I'm very, my friend Nitika Chopra has been a huge part of my recovery. And she and I talk about this all the time, where part of recovery is realizing that unavailable people are completely unattractive to me now. In a way that like before, there could be 25 Ryan Goslings in the room and one like medium ugly brunette, like damaged, like narcissist. And I would be like, you. And I wouldn't see any of the other guys. And now it's like the opposite. I actually almost don't even register you, romantically, right? Or as an interest if you are unavailable or if you are, have those narcissistic tendencies or whatever it is. But that was, again, that's reprogramming.
I'm just thinking about when you first read my book and we were you were giving me notes and things, and you responded so much to the Loved Enough chapter. I'm just remembering you were just like, you couldn't stop talking about it. And you were fascinated also with the beginning of Emily's and my relationship and how I was like, here, and she was like, no, she was not having any of it. And she did a very similar thing, and that I was the available person, but she couldn't see me.
Oh yeah.
It was just, it was
terrifying.
It was terrifying. And then what was interesting, and I'm curious if you've had a version of this, but she actually had a dream where her father came to her and told her to stop running away from all the things that were beautiful. Stop. Oh my God. And and he said, "You don't be like me." And she was gonna run away from me. And I'm wondering if you've had a moment, whether it be in therapy or in your inner child work, where something like that has happened, where that's caused that like glitch in the matrix to not be a glitch anymore, and suddenly now you can see that there are 25 Ryan Goslings. Like, was there a moment for you?
So many. I mean, last night I was talking to your wife about this meditation. I'm sorry, I have to like roll my eyes when I say that. Because it's like, I roll my eyes because meditation is so, can I swear, fucking hard for me. Meditation, when I hear people like, through meditation, I've just solved all my problems. I'm like, I just want to punch them in the face. Like, I'm very sorry. It's like not like Baha'i faith of me to like have that reaction. But like, there's a part of me that actually feels, because it's really hard for me.
You're kinesthetic. You have energy. Yes. Like, it's not easy for you.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and so for anyone who's listening who has ADHD or just like generally meditation doesn't work, like body work, yoga, like there's so many other ways of accessing it. So for me, I have to literally work out for 2 hours and like almost die and like want to throw up. That's how I feel relaxed enough to meditate. And so I had this meditation about finding your spiritual guides. And there's a lot of them. Actually, I recommend them. There's like a bunch of them. Like some of them are better than others, but they're very interesting. And you get to kind of meet your spiritual guide and have a conversation with them or her or whatever. And in this meditation, again, I roll my eyes when I have my eyes closed, when I meditate sometimes, when I'm like, all right, yeah, everything's great. I'm connected to everything. The world is wonderful. Like whatever. I'm all love. I'm light. I'm perfect. Like those are all things that I get the opposite in my head, right? That's the voice in my head is like the opposite. So she rolls her eyes, but then I finally get into the meditation and I finally I got to a point of talking with my spiritual guide. And I had this really moving experience, like in my hotel room, like literally like after our first day of recording on Monday. And I got to talk to my spiritual guide. And the first thing that I said was, where the hell have you been? And again, anger. Because when I was little, I would write letters to God. I was raised like a true atheist. Like I was never, they literally sent me to like a separate room when people were taught about religion where we like wrote letters to prisoners. Like I was like in another, religion was never part of my upbringing, but I kept writing letters to God. And God would never respond. God was never there. God never did the thing that I would ask them to do.
No,
so
sorry.
12-step programs are so hard for me because
They say God.
you have to have your higher power. And I'm just like, they're not there. They're never there. They haven't been there for me. It ends well though, because I said, where the hell have you been? And my spiritual guide said, I've been here all along. And then I was like, but why haven't I been able to see you? Why haven't you talked to me? And my spiritual guide said like they basically were like, I've always been here. You just have to stop and I'll be there and I'll be there to listen. You have to stop running away from me, essentially.
Stop running away from the things that are beautiful.
And I was like, oh, right. Like that higher power, that higher self, that higher whatever it is, like it's been there. I've just been like working myself to the ground, working out, like trying to run away from the pain in all these different ways. And what I actually needed to do was let my higher power just like take care of it. So yeah, that was my most recent powerful.
It reminds me of, and I'm going to butcher it, but
it's probably the same thing I'm thinking of.
The parable of the story of, there's a beach and this person's walking with God. And they're walking together, and there's footprints in the sand. And you can see the whole life of this person. The person looked back and got really upset and angry at God and said, God, I looked back and I noticed that at the hardest times of my life, there was only one set of footprints. Why did you abandon me? Where were you? And then God says to the person, no, my dear, that's when I was carrying you. And I just have always loved that.
Love it.
So much. This idea that
it's always there.
That we think, right? We think in our rational human reptilian brains that we're abandoned. When in reality, we're so loved and so protected and so cared for.
But yet that makes sense to me. How you got there.
Yep.
Yeah.
And how you would have not known that.
Yeah.
Until that moment.
Yeah. And a big thing is like when you have been abandoned, you'll end up, this is what I realized. I was just, instead of understanding the abandonment and being like, okay, I'm going to stop that, I just continually re-abandoned myself. That's what happens when you're, I think not in recovery or healing, or you don't have the support that you need, is that you end up, that was my solution. Again, to like get through it, I was like, all right, I'm gonna be the best student. I'm gonna be the best daughter. I'm gonna fix sexism. like what?
I'm gonna take on the patriarchy.
Yes, I'm gonna fix
by
it.
myself.
Yes, I can do it if I just work a little bit harder. And it's realizing, oh, that's another way that I'm abandoning.
I find it so interesting, Liz, that we're having this conversation with men, and so much of masculinity is running from our pain.
Yes.
So much of the issues with men is this hamster wheel, this patriarchal system that we run away. We have to prove ourselves. We got to be everything for everybody. And I find it so fascinating that in so many ways, you've also been doing that. And it just goes to show that men and women are raised in the same system.
Yeah.
We're all hurting. We're all hurting from the same thing, which is, I think, it's like this, it's your desperate plea for the world is to say like, free me, but free yourself so that I can free me.
Yes. Right. And so many more men end up being avoidant when we're talking about insecure attachment, right? Women tend to have more anxious attachment.
Liz just raised her hand.
I raised my hand, yeah, both hands. And men tend to have a more avoidant. And I think that the way I interpret it, because I dated every flavor of avoidant, right? And it's so easy to be like, oh, you just don't care. or you actually don't want intimacy, but actually avoidants want the most intimacy. They're just not avoidable to be vulnerable enough to ask for it. Or again, they were rejected or they were neglected. They were abused when they wanted that intimacy. And so avoidance for men is a real coping mechanism, but it ends up, hurting you more than.
Okay, everybody hold that thought. We will be right back. This is Man Enough.
This episode is brought to you by Athletic Greens. Our next partner has a product that I use every day. And when I say every day, I mean every day. I actually started taking Athletic Greens because I don't drink enough water and I always forget to take my vitamins. So by putting 1 scoop in a giant glass of water and starting my day, honestly, with this good habit, makes me feel better about myself, about my life, about my body, about my heart, about everything. So what's in this stuff? Well, with 1 delicious scoop of Athletic Greens, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, some probiotics, some adaptogens, and all of that will help you start your day right. And to make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you 1 free year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D, something that I need a lot of. We all do in the winter. And 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/manenough. Again, it is athleticgreens.com/manenough to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance.
All right, welcome back to the Man Enough podcast. So now where you're at, and this might be too personal of a question, but what are you looking for in a partner and a man?
Oh my God.
Because you are
asking me that question.
Because Liz is single.
I am.
And I
At
imagine
the time of recording this podcast.
I imagine this is a let's get this podcast out really quick. Let's get this episode out real quick. Let's start a screening process. Have you been through recovery?
Yes.
First step.
Yes.
But what are you looking for? I know, when we had Jamie's episode, I asked you a question that took you back because you'd never been asked it, which is how do we create what's a safe space feel like for you? Yeah. So now I want to ask you, what does a safe man feel like for you? What's this kind of, what are you looking for? Knowing that part of you still exists.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. And by the way, I'm open to women too, just because we're putting it out there. Women and men, I am equally interested in. I'm expanding the net.
Got it.
As much as possible.
Net's growing. Net's been expanded.
So you're open to both.
Yes.
But
okay. Personality wise,
I would say still.
But yes,
in terms of a man,
for sure.
If it were a man, because if it were a woman, there'd be a different set of criteria, maybe that they're right. So that same question in regard to what kind of man are you looking at?
No, that's a good yes. That's true. So I don't want a man who is trying to save me. And I don't want a man who's trying to manage me and because that's really, again, what was kind of the trope, which I, again, am fundamentally responsible for because I would seek that out. And then, what you seek, you end up inviting and then keeping in your life. So I want someone who shows me love, not by taking care of me, but helping me take care of myself. So I think that I misunderstood that, and in turn, dated people who in some way were invested in me remaining broken.
Oh, for sure. Because that makes perfect sense because they need you to be broken for them to feel powerful.
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah, no, you have to be broken for them to feel like they're not.
Yes. And yes, I 100%. And I'm just kind of seeing that now. So that's the number one thing.
But you know where that comes from, Liz?
Where does that come from?
It's what we're talking about here. It's how we as men in the world feel powerful. Because when we're the most broken, we have to find somebody else who's more broken than us. That's the patriarchal ladder. It starts there at the bottom. So it translates into our relationships, into our friendships, that's why there's no safe places for men amongst men.
Wow. Did you guys do that?
I did. Growing up, for sure. The bully when you're bullied, you then become a bully because that's the only way you feel better. There's no, that's why, you know, in the book, and we're going to go back to you, but I write, you know, one day I could be being tied to the goalpost, right? By the varsity guys in the soccer team. And then the next day I was tying somebody else.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
And the goalpost was masculinity.
I would
add,
I would just add, I agree with what all that was, but I don't fully agree with it.
Okay.
And I only say this
Yeah.
for you to hear. I think you're right that a lot of men do that. There's also men that are not looking for someone broken to fix. That they want someone.
No, I agree with you.
Okay, good.
I'm not saying all men. This isn't an all men thing.
A lot of men do that. But a lot of men want someone that's strong and powerful and not broken or and all of these things. But what happens because of what we're told and the kind of man that we're supposed to be, and so much that we end up in a relationship and we end up doing some of these things anyway.
Yes.
Agree completely, Jamie.
Yes.
I meant more. We're talking about men who have not started a healing process, and therefore the only way they can feel powerful, is to keep somebody else broken.
Yeah, sure. For those men,
right?
Yes.
For those men, this is not a generalization on all men.
Okay, good.
No,
Good. Okay.
And again, it's like it goes both ways. Like it's annoying for men because they have this box to fit into and prove that they're strong in all these ways, and then women also. Then I feel like I don't want to be the woman that I was in my past relationships with men. Like it's a lot about.
What were you?
What was I? My whole personality was shaped around the relationship and in response to the relationship. And I think, again, a lot of women sort of do that. Even like Barack Obama and Michelle Obama, like talk about it, like she talks about it in the book. And it's even when I wrote my book, that's a #1, you know, sort of complaint or problem in heterosexual marriages is that women have, you know, what you call codependency, right? So yeah, putting someone else's needs before mine, and again, like it makes it sound like I'm this great person, like oh my God, I'm just like Mother Teresa, like everyone else matters. Like no, that makes you dysfunctional. Like it doesn't make you a better person to not know what you need and not know that you can fulfill those needs. Like and knowing that you don't need another person to do it for you, another person to teach you how to do it, or an external like you know substance or work or whatever you use to respond to those needs. Like a lot of it is like being an adult and like being like, what do I need? And I can do it for me. And that's why I'm not really dating right now, which is like a new thing for me too. Cause like I love dating. I don't love dating. I love like, you know, I love relationships and connecting. But I had to be like, okay, whoa. Like I got to know that I can do this on my own before I bring someone else in. And I'm working so fucking hard. I'm investing so much of my time, so much money and my resources into building myself that I'm not going to let any bozo walk in, again, gender neutral, like female, male, gender non-binary person walk in with their shoes full of mud all over my house that I've built, you know? And so it's a lot of like self-respect.
I imagine that you know, I say to you all the time how incredible I think you are. For so many reasons. One is that you put up with me and Justin.
No.
What I love about you is on one hand, you are so strong and have such conviction. And I fear that some men, speaking about men, see that and are afraid of that and think that, oh, that person means this and this, and then therefore you're not getting a lot of great guys because they think that you're something that you're not. What I see you are is you challenge me. You may disagree with things I say. And then the next day, the next hour, the next minute, you're hugging me, loving me. You still love me, support me. You are not being strong for some reason seems to be threatening to people, to men so much. And you are so wonderful in how you walk that I hope that you find somebody, and if it is a man, that sees you and honors you and is there for you and supports you for you and also supports you, but not because he's trying to fix you, because he's just there championing you. all the things that you deserve, the man you're trying to create or help create. I know that you will find that person. We just need to filter him for you.
Love it.
My version of that is I want you to find somebody. My hope for you is you find somebody where you never have to dim your light.
Yes.
Where in fact, it's like a magnifying prism where you step into the relationship and your light just explodes.
Yeah.
And the other thing you made me think, Jamie, there's this, I don't know, I kind of feel like the word emasculated is such a bogus bullshit word. Because I think what you were referencing is so many men, I think in the presence of a strong badass like Liz, feel small. Have you had that? Have you felt that at all in your life? Like where men maybe are intimidated by you?
For sure. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But I think that like if men could hold their power and recognize that like they should want a strong, opinionated, badass woman. Like you don't want a subservient, like no idea person. Like that's not, like, and we've trained women to be that, I think, to be safe. Like, and now it's so exciting to see what's possible, because I believe, and this might be controversial, I think that when you have two people that bring that fullness, that wholeness, that have done their own work, and then they're not looking to like have the other half filled. They bring their full selves to it. And you have that like, no, you're wrong. Let me tell you why. Or you have these conversations. I think that the sex is better, the chemistry is better, there's sparks. It's not just like,
And you have someone in your corner. Like you think like, oh, okay, strong woman, that's intimidating and all that what that means. But in fact, what you're getting, like if I'm building a team, let's say a basketball team, I want the strongest players out there because my team is going to succeed that way, rather than thinking of them as an opponent. So if a man sees a woman that's strong and has conviction, that's who you're getting on your team, not your opponent.
And what's funny is that men want their daughters to be badasses and empowered and brave.
All that, but not their wife.
And their wife not to be. And I think that's...
Some men, not all men.
Not all men, but this is based on, not my opinion, based on actual research on this. And I hope that's changing. I hope that's different. But I feel like we need to... not shame or judge men who date like people who aren't on their level, but I think we should be like, oh, that says a lot about, because I heard that the other day from my friend's husband, where her husband, if he meets a business partner or someone he is a potential client, and that the wife is like kind of doesn't talk, is not on the same level, he's like, oh, I don't know if I can trust that guy. Like, I don't know, like it's like it says a lot about him.
Yeah. Well, you're not challenged.
Yeah.
It's this again. It's this fake word, being emasculated. Because, I was having a great chat with with Esther Perel, who I think is a mutual friend, and we were talking about how masculinity is such a performance that, and it is this mythical thing that can be taken away.
Yeah.
By somebody else. Like this idea that, somebody else can take away my masculinity, but we don't do that with femininity.
Yeah.
There's no word that matches emasculated for effeminated. You can you could be in her masculine. You could be like, oh, she's like acting like a dude. And then what do we do with women that act in their masculine, right? We call them names. We say they're, all the various things. But for men, we've created this word because our egos are so fragile that if we're in the presence of a strong woman that challenges us, we become emasculated. We like, oh, I'm not a man. And that's just, I think we just got a lot of work to do there.
Yeah. And even if you think about it, the fact that someone could just take it away at any point also means that it's coming from someone else. That like you feeling masculine. Yeah, everything's external. And that's such a giving away of your power, right? Like to give other people, the power to determine who you are.
Yeah.
Like whether it's positive or negative is just a recipe for unhappiness.
And what ends up happening when we know that our masculinity can be taken away by somebody else is we spend our entire lives trying to prove it, which is pretty much why we're doing this podcast right now. But let's just can we
I
get
have a
away
couple
from
questions
dating?
real quick. Yeah, I wanted to ask a couple questions. real
Okay,
quick.
as long
Sorry.
as is it about
almost
dating?
over.
It's about the questions I'm about to ask. Don't referee what I'm about to
Well,
ask.
I want to referee because she's so much more than dating.
Don't referee me. I'm about to ask her a question.
Okay, Jamie Heath.
I wanted to ask you, Liz,
Yes.
and I'm just going to be straight up and blunt. Not blunt. I'm going to ask you direct.
We haven't been blunt already?
Yeah, when are you not
when were we
blunt?
not?
I'm going to ask you direct because I'm trying to phrase this in a way. Let me just ask you straight up. What makes you qualified to have a discussion, to be a voice where men are talking about, it's called Man Enough.
Mm-hmm.
What makes you qualified to be a part of that conversation and have a voice?
The same thing that makes you the most qualified to have a conversation about whiteness. That you as a black
damn good
man
answer.
understand whiteness far more than I understand it or Justin can understand it.
What a great answer.
And it's not to say that it's your labor or your
No,
work,
no,
but
but I
you
hear you.
actually can teach us way more about it because you have had to deal with it every single minute.
Say that one more time so someone can hear that again because that was
Okay.
deep. What makes you qualified
What
to have
makes
a
me
voice?
qualified to have a voice about masculinity is what makes you qualified as a black man to have the most important voice when it comes to talking about whiteness and racial justice. Is that you, when you're the oppressed group, you know everything about the oppressor. You know things that they don't even know about themselves. You can tell what they're going to do, what they're going to say. You're anticipating the way that you can't sit with your back to the door because you're anticipating danger as a woman. You can't walk home, without looking over your shoulder, without having something in, a pair of keys in your hand or knowing who you're going to call if something happens. Like, it's the same thing. As women, we're constantly anticipating that too. And so we know everything about you.
So let me ask a follow-up question to that. I love that answer. Thank you. That was done. That was it. Put that up on the wall somewhere. Why? Tell me something. What do you love about men?
Oh, so many things. I actually love a lot of the things that I end up kind of seeming to criticize with men. I actually also respect and admire with men. Like when it comes to friendship, for example, I may have brought this up already, but men have, women have face-to-face friendships and men have more shoulder-to-shoulder friendships. Again, not generalizing, not an opinion, just based on the research. And sometimes I will kind of yearn for a shoulder-to-shoulder.
It's a little too
sometimes.
exhausting sometimes.
Yeah, like sometimes I'm like, hour 5 of this brunch of like where we're talking about our childhood trauma and our deepest insecurities, like be kind of cool to just kind of like shoot the shit, and like watch, I don't know, maybe not a baseball game because I'm not that much of a fan, but just it'd be a little more cash.
Yeah.
And I think the way that men can connect, again, sometimes it can feel, and I think there's less emotional. We teach men less emotional capabilities than we teach women and girls, but sometimes I also think it's a lot.
Yeah.
And it would be nice to, like, the way that you guys don't need to see each other for a really long time, and then you can text a friend and you guys meet up and it's like no one's angry, no one's upset, no one has residual, like, you didn't text me back that one time where I got my bridesmaid whatever, like it feels more
Easygoing, easier. Yeah.
And not as much pressure.
And then last, you do so much research. You've dedicated so much of your life to this. And you have answered before, but I'd love to hear it again. Why do you care so much about men being better?
Because I think it's the only way to better women's lives. Like, it's, to me, the only. It's not even, it's not even like, oh, it's part of it. To me, it's the only way through. And again, I think, right before my book came out, I read this like really interesting book. It was called Machiavellian for Women. Like, I'm fucking up the title. But it was all about how women have to fight if you want to harness your power as a woman, again, this is going to sound really loosey-goosey, but if you want to harness your power as a woman, most women won't be as like physically strong as their opponent. Like you won't, if a man comes at me and hits me, like I could hit him back and like, you know, there's a chance that like I'm stronger, but most likely I won't. And so what the author argues in this book is like women have to fight not by fighting the enemy, but convincing the enemy that they're actually on their side. And that like fundamentally shifted my consciousness when it came to gender equality, because that wasn't what I was doing. I was just pushing, and obviously not getting much. And then I started inviting, right? I started opening my arms instead of like pushing, you know, people away with my arms. And then that felt not only different for me, it felt a lot better for me, but it also felt a lot different for the people around me and the community around me. And I started not just talking to other women about it, I was talking to everybody about it. And that's why I care. Not just because I want women to be treated as human beings and not have to face unsafe streets and live in unsafe homes, but I also think that people aren't evil, as you said. They're broken, and I think we can all heal.
What I hear you say when I ask that, in your answers, I say, "Why do you care so much about men?" And I hear you say, "Because I love you." All your answer means because I love you.
Yeah, and I don't see us as different. I really don't. I've like stopped believing in that. I really. You know, Alok has spoken about this on our podcast. We've assigned this category so much importance. Like we've made it so important. Same thing with race. Like race was literally invented by like white colonialists, like, you know, 500 years ago. Like it is something that we have decided is really important. We separate bathrooms based on it. We have a little letter next to your name on your passport. And first thing you want to know is like, where does this person fit into either category? And I just don't think it's that important.
Right.
Like we are actually all connected. That is the one thing I will listen in that meditation and I will believe is that women and men and all people of all genders we're all connected and we're all the same.
Beautiful.
So there is no me and you. It's just an us.
Right.
So what does it mean for you?
I have one more question.
Oh my God. Seriously?
I have one more question.
45 minutes in, guys.
Okay. Go ahead, Jamie. Do you want me to leave? Do you want to just do the interview?
I'm happy for you to leave. Oh.
No, please go ahead.
I forgot what it was. Go ahead.
Do you actually not have one?
I did, but I forgot it.
All right. I was gonna go to some rapid fire questions.
Oh gosh. Okay. I like so prefer to ask questions than answer them.
You're so good at answering
You're so
them.
good at answering them.
Welcome to this week's Man Enough Podcast Rapid Fire Questions. When was the last time you cried?
I know I cried yesterday, but I don't remember why. Well, during that meditation on Monday, I know that was a time. So that was like 2 days ago. Yeah, that made me cry. Yeah.
So funny, the very thing that you earlier just said, you roll your eyes about meditation, all this
I
stuff,
know.
and yet
It worked.
you cried during it.
I know. Look at me.
You have a chance to time travel back to physically be there with your 9-year-old self, the little Liz that was being neglected and wasn't seen. What do you say to her?
God, I can't believe I'm crying. You guys are so annoying. I guess I would ask her what it is that she needs. And I know that sounds like really simple, but it just wasn't a question that, you know, I was asked and that I had the capability to ask myself. So I'd ask her what she needs and I would just like do it. Like I would, and even if it was just like, oh, I just need someone to hold me. Like, I would just hold her, like, as big or as small, right? Like, and so, yeah, I would just ask her what she needs. And I think, again, it's a really important question for all of us to ask ourselves throughout the day, like many times a day, and really just, and listen. And the other thing I would do is, like, I would just laugh at her jokes. Like, I would see her creativity and her personality and just celebrate it. Like, I would just be, you know, Toni Morrison talks about this of that light that an adult has when a child walks into the room. And, like, I would just look at her that way. I wouldn't even need to say that much, you know, but just look at her and just be enchanted by her, you know, being
excited to see her.
Existing. Yeah. Yeah. Without her having to do anything to, you know, earn it.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, those are real things, I think.
It makes sense to me because our relationship when we first, I feel, when we got attached to each other, interesting was when there was something going on and I had called you.
Yeah.
And essentially kind of asked that, what can I do?
Yeah.
What do you need?
Yeah.
Not to fix something for you.
I know.
How can I be here for you? And that meant so much to you. That's kind of like what you, what made you like me.
I mean, it was one of the, a really important moment in I think our relationship, but also in my life. Like, and yeah, it was really meaningful.
So you have the same time travel device, and now you're fast forwarding to your funeral.
Yeah.
What do you hope is said about you, Liz Plank, and how you move through the world as a human?
I'm less concerned with what would be said about me, but I would be more overjoyed by the people who would be there whose lives have been changed by me, or not, you know, because of me, but that I had a part in affecting. And so when I think about that, about what it would look like for me to be this ghost and sort of this third perspective on it, it would be to see, like, all the people who somehow I touched in a certain way that set them on.
All the people you set free.
Maybe, or I think they set themselves free, but that I helped, you know, in any way.
Gave them the key to their handcuffs.
And or, you know, gave them a hint for the password. So yeah, that would be what I want.
And what do you think it means to be man enough?
I really think right now, I think if you ask me that question, it would be different probably every week. I think this week, it's a lot about emotional responsibility and responsibility in general. You know, it comes back, you know, a lot of our guests have sort of talked about that, and it's been something I've been thinking about, which is, it's not enough to just say, cry and let it out and have emotions, right? Yeah. It's like, yes, and take responsibility for those emotions. So that, to me, when I see a man doing that, damn.
Now you can see him. Now you can see that guy.
Yes, exactly.
Now you can see him.
Yes.
Now you're
he's
like,
in color, and everyone else is in black and white.
Damn, that guy looks like Ryan Gosling.
Yes, and he looks like Ryan. That's who I'm manifesting.
Is Ryan Gosling like the gold standard?
For me, but it's a weird, yes.
Nice.
It's just the way it is.
All right.
Canadian.
So you could be doing anything right now. You are very in demand, Liz.
You are.
You're very in demand. There's been multiple times where you've had to leave early for speeches and things and book releases and all kinds of stuff.
And in between
shows, you almost
TikTok
all these things.
TikToks
in between.
Very in demand.
Why did you want to do this podcast with us?
I feel like it was, I feel really grateful for the universe's plan to make this podcast happen. I really do. And obviously I feel grateful for you. I feel like you recognized it, or you saw it, or you felt it, and you reached out, and, you know,
I just saw your brilliance.
Well, thank you. But I feel like you didn't know how we would end up like working together, right? And working feels like it's like more than that, like collaborating.
Yeah.
And I feel like this was the plan all along, and I'm so happy that we both didn't resist it, or or whatever, like life didn't get in the way of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, to me it was the most normal, natural. Like I just let myself flow into it. So yeah, it wasn't even a question. It was just like, oh yeah, this is what I meant to do.
Well, we're so grateful because without you here, this doesn't work. It just doesn't work.
I mean, I feel the same way. I don't know how I would do my life without you.
And well, we're just so grateful for you and for your perspective. And thank you for opening up and sharing so much of yourself with us today.
Thank you.
And,
my whole body's tense. I'm gonna now like release because it's over.
It's over. And I can only imagine all the applications that are going to be flooding in.
And also, Liz, on behalf of us, your ability to be here always on every episode, and being one that is on the bad end of the stick of when men have toxicity and stuff we're trying to work through. But you are willing to be here always, and love us and challenge us.
And not give up on us.
And not give up. And give us space when we need it, and then interject. And we bump heads, and yet you stay and show up. Sometimes you expect more of us than we're ready to give. And I appreciate that. I'm so happy that you're a part of this, as I say so often. But it's really important that I keep saying that we say, so that we can say it to ourselves, but also that you can know and be reminded that you are enough, that you are seen, that we love you, and we're here for you.
Thank you.
We love you, Liz.
Thank you.
If you like what you're hearing, come hang out with us.
Come on.
You can like and subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. Check us out at manenough.com/podcast. And we'll see you next week. I'm Justin Baldoni.
I'm Liz Plank.
And I am Jamie Heath.
And this is
Man Enough.